Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And speaking of crime, there's something that I want to get to first before we get to the crime report. I get asked all the time about the spam bots that you see in the comments section. You know, the ones where you got the scammers posting the exact same message over and over again to like 30 or so people. It's always the same generic message. Hi, call me. Here's a number, and then there's a WhatsApp or a Telegram number, usually in the screen name itself. And here's some examples here of some of the accounts that I've blocked. Now, of course, what you'll notice is none of their screen names say Professor Black Truth, and a large part of that happens to be when they tried to do their little variations on my name. I made sure to block them, so at this point, they're just putting WhatsApp numbers in there. Obviously, these accounts are not me. There's no way in hell that I'm going to be posting the same message over and over again to everybody saying, call me, call me, call me, call me. These are phishing scams. What they want is for you to respond to their scam message so that they can try to sweet talk or finesse you into giving them your personal information, because these are some scammers. Some white supremacists down in Kentucky, or some Russians, or some clowns from West Africa, what have you. But that's what this is. So for the people who send me messages saying, hey, every once in a while we see some idiot trying to use your avatar, are you aware of this? Everybody who's on YouTube these days who has a channel with any sort of following has these exact same spam bots running around. Unfortunately, YouTube has allowed it to become part of the landscape. Now, whenever these clowns show up, I, of course, block their accounts and make sure that their messages get removed. But the thing to remember is, when you block them, they change the avatar and the screen name, and then they post on someone else's channel. Here's just a couple of examples of one particular clown that I blocked, and you can see the accounts. They got the exact same scam number listed, but different avatars. It used to be my avatar that they were using, but this is what these clowns do once they get blocked. So family, there's two things I want to make sure that everybody understands. First, I will never ask you to call me. You see any messages posting a number and saying, call me, that's a spam bot trying to con you. I have never in 15 years posted a phone number or a social messaging app. Twitter's the closest that I've gotten to that. I talk to my subs, but I make it a point to never invite you to contact me because it makes it where bottom feeders like this can pull their scams. So remember, I have never in 15 years asked you to call me, and I never will. If you see some account with my avatar, but a message saying call me, that's a spam bot trying to scam you. I don't have WhatsApp, I don't have Telegram, I don't have any of those things. There's no way for you to contact me even if I wanted you to. And that brings me to the second point. I will never, ever, and I mean never, ask you to give me your personal information. Not once, not ever. I will never ask you for your social security number or your checking account number or any information about your YouTube account or your debit card information or any information from you. I will never ask you to give me your personal info ever. So if you see anyone posting messages using my avatar saying to call me, report them to YouTube, flag their account, let everybody know that this is a spam bot. Now the message is going to disappear soon enough after I block them, but if you haven't refreshed your page, you'll probably still see them. But my point is, YouTube is not going to look out for us, obviously. So we have to look out for each other. And now, the Friday Crime Report. Donald Gronbeck was a doctor based out of Yellow Springs, Ohio. He also was a physician at Antioch College, where he gave medical services from 2015 to 2019. But these days, he's not seeing any patients because he's been accused of sex crimes against at least 15 women.
We begin this noon hour with breaking news. Right now, several law enforcement agencies are posted at Yellow Springs Primary Care as part of a criminal investigation. This now is a live look from the office of Dr. Donald Gronbeck. This family practice is located on Dayton Street, that's in Yellow Springs. Ohio BCI, along with Greene County Sheriff's Office, served a search warrant here as part of an ongoing criminal investigation. Meanwhile, News Center 7 has uncovered documents that say Dr. Gronbeck's medical license was suspended just yesterday. State Medical Board documents outline years of sexual assault complaints by at least 8 patients. As of right now, he has not been formally charged with any crime.
Now, did you hear what they said? This guy had years of complaints against him. They didn't have to wait until this year to arrest him. They've known about him since at least 2013. The state medical board at least knew about this guy. That's what they put in their report when they had his medical license revoked. He was accused of touching patients inappropriately, writing prescriptions for a patient he was in a sexual relationship with, and sending inappropriate messages and photos to patients. Gee, this guy is as bad as some of the judges that I've profiled. According to the Ohio Medical Board complaint against Gronbeck, he had created a private email account and was using an app called CoverMe to communicate with one of his targets. Apparently, this app causes messages to disappear quickly after they're posted, and the messages are not saved. Gronbeck's also been accused of prescribing rivastigmine patches to one of his patients, who I think was also an employee, and he told her to give the patches to others, including 2 other patients, who would later also accuse him of sexual abuse violations. We've all heard that doctors are basically legal drug dealers, but this clown takes it to a new low. And you know he's not the only one. These perverts are the same scum who intentionally deny pregnant black women medical care and who deliberately give black women bad medical advice in the hopes that the mother will lose her baby or even her own life. So of course you see the same medical boards whose members engage in this racist behavior also allowing one of their own to violate women with impunity. That's what they mean by professional courtesy. Now, although his medical license got yanked back in January, they didn't arrest this creep until just last month. In fact, it was only just a few weeks ago that they got around to doing it. The prosecutors say that they were conducting a year-long investigation. Gee, that's sure not the way they handled things with R. Kelly or Bill Cosby, and the white media tried to claim that Cosby had dozens of accusers. Sounds just like this guy, don't it? Amazing how the wheels of justice always slow to a crawl whenever someone with genetic immunity from the law is being accused of a crime. So Gronbeck's been sexually assaulting women for almost a decade, at least that we know of, because we know these scumbags are usually committing their crimes long before they actually get caught out. And he had his medical license suspended back in January, but even with all that, there were no charges leveled against him for another 9 months, because they were still putting together their case. Okay, so they eventually got around to indicting him on October 21st, and he's facing 50 charges, including 9 counts of rape, 10 counts of sexual battery, 15 counts of gross sexual imposition, and 16 counts of sexual imposition. He's pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Prosecutors had asked that Gronbeck be held without bond. That makes sense considering that the guy's been a doctor for several years. He owns property which he can very easily convert into enough money to make bail and blow town. But you already know how that request went. This guy's got genetic immunity from the law, so the judge gave him a $1 million bail. But on the bright side, I think the judge did add that if the guy does come up with enough bail money, they'll go ahead and put an ankle monitor on him. As of this recording, Gronbeck is still in the Hoosgow, but look at how much time they gave him to skip the country. 9 months. This guy knew that the clock was ticking back in January when he started making the news for all the wrong reasons. And it's not as if there's no precedent for one of these clowns knowing that they're about to get pinched, so they just go ahead and skip the country. Ethan Couch, the so-called affluenza teen, fled to Mexico when he was out on bail. Now, what needs to be remembered is that this guy is just like Dr. Larry Nassar. You'll remember Nassar was the Olympic physician, and he was convicted of sexually molesting God knows how many females, including Simone Biles and Gabby Douglas. Gronbeck's face should be everywhere, but it's not. Same way that Paul Haggis's face hasn't been everywhere, even though he was found liable in civil court on 3 counts of rape. Danny Masterson's on trial right now, but you haven't heard much about that either, have you? Gee, if only these guys were, say, a Z-list black actor, then the white media would be giving them wall-to-wall coverage. Make no mistake, this Gronbeck character, he didn't just get caught last month. In fact, he didn't get caught just 9 months ago. He was caught 9 years ago, in 2013. What happened was he's been allowed to remain on the loose. That is, until enough women finally accuse him as a group that it simply can't be covered up or swept under the rug anymore. You know, if Bill Cosby being falsely accused of sexual assault is enough for the white media to use clowns like Kamal Dumbbell to say that the black community needs to have a conversation about itself, then I think that this guy is more than enough reason for us to ask that the medical community have a conversation about itself. Criminals like this are the reason that I started doing these crime reports, to show everyone all the crimes that the white media isn't putting on the nightly news. So you can see just how many serial killers, mass shooters, and mass murderers there are running around that you're not even being told about. And this is important because nobody wants to say that a lot of these doctors are deliberately harming people. Doctors are in a position that they can give people prescriptions that kill them. They can enact medical procedures that harm or kill patients. They can have people put under anesthetic sleep and then assault them 5 ways from Sunday. They're allowed to have ready, unquestioned access to unlimited amounts of drugs that are restricted like narcotics under the law, and yet no matter how many physicians molest, harm, or even kill patients, we just never get around to having any conversations about what's wrong with all of these doctors. Same way we never get to talk about what's wrong with the suburbs for churning out all these mass shooters. Well, I'm going to make my own diagnosis about this case. The white media will continue to hide it. I would not at all be surprised if Gronbeck gets a plea deal and he's out of jail before you know it. 10 years tops, and then he'll go to some other state or some other country and begin some underground medical practice or some other bit of medical-based criminality. Hell, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that he could even be reinstated in Ohio if he can convince the powers that be that he's rehabilitated. But that won't stop the white media from trying to find some other high-profile black man who they can make into the face of sexual assault in America, and then they'll use the phony narrative that they invented to tell the black community that we're the ones who have a rape culture, and that we're the ones running around molesting and raping people. Well, if the white media is going to call itself lecturing the black community, all I have to say to the white media about that is, physician, heal thyself. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Kenneth Prescia, Wesley Monroe, Tamara Williams, Philander Bryant, and Vincent Harper. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.